Hey guys, let's dive into a little bit of commercial locksmithing. What I have here today is a 99 series Von Duprin exit device with the attached alarm kit, and many of you have messaged and emailed about just how do you remove the inner cylinder here to rekey it or swap it to a new cylinder, because a lot of times the new owners that come in, they want to change whatever keyway was on here to whatever they're using now. If they just put all Schlag on there, if they put, Sergeant, whatever it is they're looking for, you want to be able to match it. That way they don't have several different keys. So for those of you who have never worked on a exit device and you're just getting into this, I will give you guys a quick little rundown. So to remove this from the door, the easiest way to do that, and let me move this over so you can see the interior side. Get that centered onto the camera here. So this is how it will look on the, obviously when you exit the door and it swings open. So you'll see this hard case here. You have 4 screws. They're just tiny little screws that go into the sides here. Once you have removed that, you can actually remove the case. You see the holes, 2 there, 2 there. Again, this is old. And then what you will have are 4 screws here, 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 and here. You'll remove those. You want to be careful if you're doing this by yourself. What I recommend doing is leaving at least one somewhat, not like tight, but just loose enough to where it will still stay in the door. So that way, when you come back to this side, let me drag this back over. This is a very long panic device here. What we have is, you will see on this side, we have this plate. This will actually be inserted just like so. Let's see if I can get a close up. Just like that against the door. And these 2 holes here will actually have screws mounted to the door itself. These 2 screws or screw holes, basically they align to this cap like this. So fully, installed, this goes here, and then this goes on the end, just like that, and you end up with your finished, this is how it looks finished on the door, very neat and clean. So you will remove these 2 screws, you pop him off, just like that, and then you will remove. Again, I would suggest, depending on which side you're working on, leave 1 screw in the top here. And then what you can do is once you remove that last screw on that side, you can actually just pull the entire device off of this plate. You can even let it swing down, but do not just let it go. It kind of gives you, it's just a pro tip, leaving this one on, it lets it swivel. And then once it's removed, you can remove the plate if you need to, unless you're not replacing it. You can leave it and then put it all back together. Makes it easy for you guys. So that's pretty much all there really is to taking this thing off. It does work with a rim cylinder. We'll get into those later in the channel. But what we're going to look at is this part. This is the alarm kit that they have installed many, many moons ago. So you actually don't need any tools for this part. But I do want to show you, preferably have this off of the door when you're doing this. You can try to do it with it on, but there are wires in here and you can pull this, the wires off. So you want to be very careful, especially if this is going back on a door. This one isn't, so I'm not being as, cautious with it. But always treat the lock on a job as if it is going back on the door. You never know if the one that you have is the wrong size or the wrong style, the wrong type, and you have to put the old one back on. You always want to be careful on how you are handling it. So once you have removed the cap and it's off of the plate, and this is, on your workstation table, all you have to do is just pull this plate. It just slides, just like so. And we can see the rat's nest of wires that people have went crazy with, obviously. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to flip this over. Let me put this cap back on so the pieces don't fall off. Let me flip this over for you guys so you can see the inside. There goes the pieces. I'll show you that in a second too, in case you guys drop those pieces yourself. So here on the inside, I'm doing this careful on my table, we have our lock cylinder here. Now, you might be wondering, how do I get this thing out? You know, it doesn't screw out like your normal cylinder. So you could try that, but it's going to be locked in by a ring on the inside. That is why when you use it, you're not going to be able to just, you know, loosen a grub screw like normal, or if it comes loose, it's not going to just back out. On the top and bottom, let me grab a pick here to point this out for you guys. So let's get this closer to the camera for you. So right here and here, there is a little plate on the inside with these little, almost like a grub screw would, but they're just little hooks, and it's going to lock that in place so you can't twist it to remove it. So there is no grub screw. It just has this ring right here. So all you need to do is just with your fingers, you could just usually loosen them. Yeah, this one's not over tightened or anything. So we are going to loosen this up, and I'm keeping a finger on the face of the cylinder so it doesn't just slam. Even though I don't care about this one, I'm going to try to do this so you guys can see. So there's a lot of turning, but we remove that and our cylinder will slide out. So if we look here on the ring, this is the outside. This is the side that goes against the lock when you put it back together. And then we have this little piece here. This comes out. So as you can see, when it goes back in, it goes into this slot here. And when you turn the cylinder, it actuates the little lever there. So just so you guys can see, it follows that slot. So keep that. If you're not sure how it's oriented, just remember this fatter part here goes in like that with a little leg looking up at its lever. So we can remove that. And then on the inside, see if I can do this. Let me set it down so I can try to get these pieces more carefully here. You have this little protective ring that sits on the inside. Nothing crazy, it just fills the gap between. And then you have this plate, and I want to show you this plate here. So this is what prevents the cylinder from being turned and just removed like your standard mortise cylinder. See these little arrows here? That's what locks it in place. So that is what holds the lock once it's in here. It goes through those slots. Now you cannot remove that. So there's no turning. On a standard commercial storefront door, you would just back out the grub screw, and then you would just turn and turn, and it would just spin. That's what prevents this from happening on the alarm kit. So if you have a new cylinder keyed up or you want to rekey it, I have some videos. I'll leave a link here on how to rekey your lock. These ones are simpler than your residential. You just remove these two little screws here. You remove this tail piece, and then from there you just, if you have the key, turn it over, go to town. If not, shim it, pick it, however you'd like to do it. But let's say you've got your new cylinder and we need to put all this back together, and maybe you just dropped all of this out of the lock and you don't know how to put it back. So we're gonna look here. So we have our little piece that we're seeing here. What we're going to do is place him back under the board here. And I'm trying to do this careful. And we're going to put that tab back through this little hole here, as you guys can see there. So we just placed him right back where he was. That holds it from going anywhere. We'll take our inner ring that fills in the gap, And we are going to, let me see if I can get a better angle. This thing is just so long. It's takes up so much space. I'm gonna put it like so. And then let me just move the camera over slightly. There we go. A little bit better. So what we're going to do is take our ring and we can just slide him right under and on top of that plate. Don't worry about aligning it too much right now. What we're going to do is take our cylinder and we're going to put him back in the same orientation, keyway facing the edge of the lock. So tailpiece pointing to the end of the lock here, or the device. And we're going to feed him straight through like that. From here, we're going to take our little mechanism ring here and we are going to place it over, and we're going to make sure that arm drops into the slot and is under this little lever piece here. So if you guys can see that, this little piece here is what it actuates. So when you turn it, it's going to press up on that lever. You guys can see that. Up, down, like that. And then we are going to take our inner ring. Again, the outside is this. The inside is a little bit smaller in diameter. We're going to put that on, and we are just going to tighten him back on. So holding him flush against the device from the outside, there's a lot of threads here, just like so. That is how you remove and reinstall the inner cylinder on one of these alarm kits. Now this one is going to be problematic. It's not even hooked up. This was on the back of a restaurant and they were just using this simply as an exit device for code. It doesn't need this. And 4 restaurants ago, not the current restaurant it is, but the 4 restaurants before this one, they just never wanted to upgrade anything. So this is kind of what you expect. It's not in bad condition. Somebody had ripped out the wires and tried to rewire it and then ripped them out again. It's just on a door that goes out to a dumpster. But it had to be up to code. So that's why the condition. So what we'll do is we will flip him back over carefully. And then you can see the inside. From here, you have your rat's nest of wires. Pretty wild. But however the wiring situation was, hopefully it doesn't look like this. But once it's all back inside, which is what they've done here, that is insane, by the way. We're going to just carefully not pinch any of the wires. If this is what you're working with, it's what you guys are working with. If you guys had to put this back on the door, just remember, don't just slam that and think you're not putting it back. The new one you have is too short, too big, too long, whatever it was. Not the right size, whatever was going on. And you have to put this back on. Don't just slam that and cut those wires. So once the wires are out of the way, you just put that back. You'll slide this, if it's still on the door, you'll just slide that back in. Let me see if I can. So this will basically be attached to the door. You will reinsert that bottom screw if it's still on the door. And then you will fit your cap over and you will put your 2 screws back in, mounting it up. So that is how you remove and reinstall this cylinder. Really simple stuff. It can be intimidating. I understand that 100%. You're going to see this once you jump into the commercial world a lot. This is a very, very common setup. You are seeing this everywhere. So now let me flip it to the other side to show you some of the stuff that could fall out and what to do there. So let's say that you've removed your 4 screws on this casing, and you've removed it, and then you remove the bottom screw and you let it swivel and it slides down and it falls, and you see how like this has come out pretty much. That is really common. This one kind of stays held in a little better because it has these very loose screws here, but this one is mounted to the device. This one here is very common to just fall off, and you might wonder how this goes back on. Just remember, these holes here go with your screws to align here, just like this. All you have to do is place this back through the slot. This little piece here goes through the slot and right back on, and that is it. So if it falls and you have to move it out of the way, go ahead. Just remember, as long as you don't disturb anything else, that's it. You just put that back on, it mounts back to the device. So that is something else that I do see happen a lot. People will put it back on the wrong way and they start to panic. No pun intended, I guess. If it's your first one, I have seen a lot of guys, like, I'll get out to them. They've done everything right and they're just like, I don't know what to do. And they're just, what it is it's overthinking. Like, me describing it to you this way, it's like, oh, obvious. Honestly, if I threw you out there and didn't show you that, you might run into some issues. So I'm not going to discredit anybody that's never worked on one of these. I've seen it many, many, many times. But that's it. That just goes back on. You put in your 4 screws, and then you just slide this cap right back on. The easiest way to do that is to put this at this angle and slide it over. And then we will just slide it on just like that. And then you just put your cap screws back in and you are good to go. And this is a functional device. I mean, it's obviously slow and gunked up. It was on a very greasy kitchen back door, along a dumpster in the food traps. So, I mean, this thing has been through the ringer for decades. But I just wanted to show you guys that. I know that was a big question that I get on the channel. So just some simple how-tos on working with your Von Duprin 99 series. Anytime you see the, let me turn this back around, the alarm kits where you have that inside cylinder, really, once you have the cap removed, they're all pretty much like this. So don't panic. Always just remember you're in control of the situation. Do not just lose yourself in it and just start panicking. These things are a lot simpler than what you might be used to. So we'll dive more into panic devices in the future, but that is one that I did want to show you guys while I have this in my possession. They were going to scrap it, so I was like, hey, you know what? Here's one for the video. So hopefully you guys learned something on this. If you guys did, feel free to like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. You guys can learn more about locksmithing, and I will catch you guys in the next video.